I know how she feels. Both of y'all are in the same chat room and can clearly see what the other person dislikes about you. You work in middle class, upper middle class corporate America. How does that? How do you feel like being a black man working in middle class and upper middle class America? How do you feel you fit in or don't fit in, or do you feel like you don't fit in?
Well, it's not that I don't feel like I don't fit in, because I feel like I should be there. I think the positions that we're in, people like myself, or we feel underpaid, even though we're making a good wage. It's just we've gotten so much education and so much experience that people like me feel like we should be getting paid more. And it's not the accolades of you're doing a great job, recommendations, things like that. It's the monetary bonuses that we feel we deserve.
So what do you do? What is your job? What is your title? Job description?
I am a physical security designer specifying in access control. I work for a government agency where I control all physical access to multiple campuses. And
that's not like top secret, or are you like allowed to say that?
I can say that, as long as I don't say the name of the agency and the intricacies that we protect.
Okay, so your job, how many African American men or women do you see in your position?
Very few.
But there are a lot of African Americans in government. At least I know in the D.C. area.
Yeah, there's a lot of black men, black women in government, but not in the positions that I work.
Not in the senior positions, or are there a lot in the senior positions?
The ones that are in senior positions, yeah, but they're not the SESers, the senior executive officers. They're usually 15s. Okay.
So do you think is that by choice, or is that by design?
It seems to me that it's by design, because usually the SESers that are put in charge are friends of other SESers who are in charge. And the 15s that they have in place have other 14s and 13s that they know, and they brought them along.
So I know quite a few SESs, in the D.C., Maryland, Virginia area, and the ones that I know, they're all different races. I know them of all different nationalities. But the one thing that I did pick up on is that those that are in those positions almost always complain about power being restricted from them, and they feel like power is being restricted from them because they are in those senior positions, and it is because of their race.
Yeah, I believe it.
And that's just what people of color in general. I'm not just saying that it's just happening to Black America. It's happening to people of color in America. And if you're confused about people of color in America, it's non-whites.
Right. Because those who have the real power are the white SESers.
Now, I know we're always complaining about Black Americans in corporate, but one thing that I did notice, out of all the people that I do know in these senior positions, there are very few Latinos.
That's true.
It's almost like it's a ghost town when it comes to Latinos in these senior positions.
That's true. There's a lot of Latinos who work custodial positions. It's a lot of those.
Would you say that their place, that the absence of Latinos in government America is due to politics, or is it due to their lack to apply? Which I don't believe is their lack to apply, because there are a lot of young Latinos that are in college and have been in college just as long as there have been African Americans in college, and I don't just see Latinos as the only one in those custodial positions, because there are a lot of, when you go into DC, you can see who's into those custodial positions, because a lot of them are always outside.
Yep.
And it's rare. I mean, it's rare that you see white people outside working those custodial positions.
Yep.
But you will see people of color working those positions. Now, don't want to get a lot of emails here from, people of color saying, you don't know what you're talking about, you don't want this position. I'm just speaking on from what I see. The topic of the show is people of color in government positions. Because I have a friend that works at Department of Housing and Urban Development. And in his office, he says that there's an employer that barely comes to work. And he's a white guy. And they throw all his work on him, on my friend. Mm-hmm. And when he speaks out about it, he's told he's not being a team player. His bosses are conspiring to get him fired. And that his job description, he had his job description written up by an SCSer who was a black guy. And the black man died. So the people that didn't like him conspired to give his job description to another co-worker, and they took him out of his position, which lasted temporarily, because they found out that the person that they had given his job to didn't know how to do the job as well as he did, because he's the guy that's a stickler for the rules. And you and I both know in government, it's hard to be a stickler for the rules. Right. So they took his job description and they gave it to someone else, which meant his promotion, that meant his raise, and it boggled him down. And he has this big, important job with zero power. How do you have an important job in government with zero power? How's that possible?
Well, it's all dependent upon who's in charge of your position. If the person in charge of your position does not feel you need to have decision authority, they can make you do the job and then bring all decisions to them to make.
So you mean to tell me you can be hired in a position that is a senior position that is supposed to come with power, but because you don't play by their rules, or you're not one of them, you're not in the good old boy network, because they do have their favorite blacks. Come on now, we have to admit that. If you're not one of their favorite blacks, then you have a job with power. I mean, an important job, but zero power.
Yep.
So when things get screwed up in your position, and the power was taken away from you, so the person that took your power made that mistake, who gets the blame?
You do.
So who protects you?
No one.
I heard something the other day I just could not believe. I heard that in the government, if you have SCI clearance.
Mm-hmm. SCI access.
Yeah, SCI access, not clearance. SCI access. you're not allowed to be in the union.
I don't know about all that.
You
Because
don't get
a lot,
union protection.
well, I don't know about all that. Because there's a lot of positions that require SCI access, and there's a lot of union people in there.
Well,
Now,
I've heard
whether or
it.
not they get protection.
Yeah, it was something I heard. I heard you couldn't have access.
Now, it all depends. I guess it all depends on the bylaws of that union. I don't know.
Because I just think that. Do you think enough people of color take advantage of their access to the union?
Because from what to my understanding, a lot of them don't feel like they're properly protected by the union.
So they just take it.
Yeah.
It's years of suppression.
Just take it.
And just feel like that you just have to take it.
Yep.
Well, let me say this to you: if you work for the government and you are a part of the union and you're not accessing your power, then you need to, or you need to stop complaining. I was just so in shock when I watched the movie. What's that? Figures?
Hidden Figures.
Hidden Figures. When I watched that movie, excellent movie. If you haven't seen it, it's no longer in the theaters. Go rent it on DVD. But support this movie in your household. We watched the movie with our children, and the one thing that I realized, we weren't taught about these women in high school. We weren't taught about these women in elementary school. We weren't taught about these women in middle school, because as a female of color, a young girl of color, that would have opened my eyes so much wider, just knowing that, wow, they were working with NASA. We weren't told we could be astronauts back then. We weren't told that we should go to college. In my neighborhood, I'm not speaking for everyone else's neighborhood, if you wanted to go to college, you had to get there on your own know-how. You had to actually, because you didn't get it at school, you had to actually bump into someone that encouraged and told you about college, who had that experience. Because it's sad to say, and it's not throwing my city under the bus, but they were just horrible. I think the administrative staff was just horrible at guiding the children in the right direction, especially the ones that they knew were smart. Even if they knew you were smart, they weren't giving you this information. They weren't telling you anything about colleges. And when things did come to school, it was always the military. And so when I saw Hidden Figures, I was like, why didn't someone had to know that this history existed. And a lot of times it's not just about reading history from a book. It's about what you have learned about history and also can bring into your classroom as an assignment, because teachers, you're not under such strict rules that it stops you or halts you from teaching.
Right.
I just don't believe that, and I believe that Hidden Figures is something that should be in African American history taught. It should be taught in African American history. Our children learn about Rosa Parks. They learn about Dr. Martin Luther King. They learn about Mr. Everett. They learn about Malcolm X. There are so many different other people out there that our children can learn about. They're going to learn that Edgar Allan Poe's. So to all you teachers and administrators of color, even the things that are in your communities, I think you should fight to teach your children about. There's a opera out there, Nole Me Tangere, and these people are doing a wonderful, wonderful job at teaching their young about their history, about their Filipino history, and the work that's been done to restore the Filipino community back to what their original customs are. And I think a lot of communities of color could take lessons, learn lessons from one another, because a lot of people say, well, you know, if you're lighter than me, then you're not a person of color. That's not true. That's not true. You are, no matter what your race is, if you're not white, you're considered a person of color.
Right.
If you're not white. So, you know, I want to thank you guys for coming out. You've been watching Link Says with my co-host today, Mr. Kenny Allison. We thank you for coming out. And we want to say, always stay positive and always stay teaching. There is never enough to learn out there. Education is powerful. Knowledge is power. Learn how to access the knowledge, and you will learn how to access your power. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time on Link Says.